All right, here we are. It's 10 in the morning, Central European time. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. From the Skillman team and the Assembly of European Regions, welcome to participate in this webinar on TVET and civic participation. I see that many people are also joining our platform while I speak, so while we wait for more and more people to join, let me just first of all thank the Assembly of European Regions for organizing today's webinar. Thank you to the AER team. Also, thank you very much to our facilitator, Aurora Carrasco, today, who is facilitating today's session, and also to our wonderful speakers who took their time to be with us and share their knowledge and their experience, of course. So today we'll be talking about Tibet and the civic participation. So we will look at the factors that can improve civic participation of people in technical and vocational education and training, and how to involve all the regional stakeholders in the process. So I would just like to get you all instructed about the rules of how today's session is going to be. As you see, you have your microphones muted and your cameras are switched off. Let's please keep them like that. You will have the chance to ask questions to our speakers for the time being and throughout the whole webinar. Please do it in the chat box that you find here in the bottom of your screen. Please ask as many questions as you want. We are very privileged to have all these professionals with us today, so let's take advantage of that. Let's share comments and try to get the discussions going and engaged. I am Valentina De Vico. Just a quick introduction. I am the communication manager of Skillman. I'll be with you throughout the whole webinar, and I'll be also giving some instructions at the end of it, also to keep you up to date to what are our upcoming activities. From my side, I would just give a brief introduction on what Skillman is and what we have been doing. Actually, this webinar today is not a solo webinar, but it's part of a series of digital events that we have been organizing with the Assembly of European Regions. And we have implemented them with the objective of establishing long-lasting and effective partnerships. So one thing that I would like to emphasize is the engagement that we would like to have with the participants, with the audience. So as I said, let's try to get this session as interactive as possible, and try to set the basis for long-lasting cooperations and partnerships in the future. Skillman is an international network of a very broad nature of stakeholders, mainly Tibet providers, universities, industries, policymakers, individuals, etc. It's actually, we consider that as the main backbone around which we try to introduce and exchange skills. So it was actually created to be focused on in the advanced manufacturing sector, and then throughout the years it's been actually broadened up a lot, and we're gaining more and more members as the time comes. Actually, the needs that the Skillman network was created for was that we need to constantly cope with the new challenges and needs of the labor market. So we want to introduce and exchange skills in Tibet to face and cope with these needs. These that you see on your screens are actually our highlights. We have right now we have more than 600 members belonging to our network, and they have a very broad, let's say, a global coverage. So they come from 93 countries in the world. We have more than 50 ambassadors. We have been implementing a series of digital activities. So I would just strongly recommend you to follow up on us and stay with us for more upcoming activities. This is just the geographical coverage that I would like to share with you today to see where our members are. So if you're interested in knowing more, we can get in touch and I can give you more information later. Well, let's say Skillman and these kind of activities are organized and embedded in the Skillnet project, a project co-founded by the European Commission that has the objective of establishing a large network of centers of vocational excellence. Some of our partners are connected with us today. One of them is the European Network of Innovation for Inclusion, the Assembly of European Regions that I mentioned already. But we're also partnering with the International Vocational Education and Training Association, with EAPRIL, and with the European Training Foundation. I was before closing my introduction, I would just like to invite all of you to be part of our peer learning clubs. That I'm not going to focus on this now, because I know, and I'm very glad that Elena in just a while will share more information about those. But so from my side, if you would like to continue in the discussion of today's topic and more around Tibet, you can join one or even 4 of these peer learning clubs. Julia is sharing with you the link, so just follow the link and you can become one of our peer learning clubs. The last remark, we are streaming live, so if you want to watch us on our YouTube channel, it's Skillman.eu on YouTube. And as always, we really value your opinion. Let us know what you think about the webinar. I think Julia is sharing with you the link in the chat box. So please take just 1 minute of your time to tell us what you think about the quality of today's webinar. I'm very glad and honored to give the floor to our facilitator today, Aurora Carrasco Minguez, the VET Programs Manager of Acción contra el Hambre. So I'm very glad to have you here, Aurora. The floor, if you want, is yours for the initial considerations. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Valentina, and welcome also from my side to all the public attending this webinar on technical, vocational, educational, and training and civic participation. And of course, welcome also to all the panel of speakers I will be now introducing. So it is really my pleasure to be moderating this session today. As Valentina mentioned, just quickly, I am Aurora Carrasco and I am VET Program Manager in Action Against Hunger Spain. And today I'm representing the European Network of Innovation for Inclusion that is led by Action Against Hunger since 2016 for the promotion of social innovation among all relevant stakeholders in order to create a more inclusive European labor market. We are also glad, as Valentina mentioned, to be part of the Skillnet project that is organizing this event. Okay, so now without further delay, I'm introducing the panelists for today. So we are honored to have with us Alessandra Serra, Assembly of European Regions Vice President for Employment and Skills and Councillor at the region, who will be opening today's webinar. We will also have Andrei Frank, that is Policy Officer of Solidar Foundation, who will speak us about civic competencies and lifelong learning. We will also have Simon Johnson, Assembly of European Regions Chair of the Working Group on Education and Training, acting as Mayor of Northland County Council, who will be sharing with us the regional experience from Northland. And finally, Maria Elena Romanini, Project Manager of the Skillman Secretariat, that will explain us how to build the Tibet voice through the peer learning clubs. So we're now going to start sharing on civic participation and its importance to build innovative and creative societies, and specifically on how to improve civic participation of stakeholders in Tibet to make sure they are not left aside when shaping the communities. So now I give the floor to Alessandra Feda for the opening session. Alessandra, please, if you're ready.
Do we have Alessandra? Because I hear that we have been having she's been having a last minute arrangement. So maybe we can start with Andre instead.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So Andre, it's if you want to go ahead talking us, explaining us about civic competencies and lifelong learning, please, the floor is yours.
Sounds good. Thank you. I'm just sharing my screen. 1 second. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can. Yeah,
perfect. Go on. Okay. Well, good morning. Thanks a lot for having me here. I'm very excited to be engaged in this conversation about bridging civic participation in various forms of education. I represent Solidar Foundation, which is the cooperation platform of Solidar. It's a European and worldwide network of NGOs that advance social justice in Europe and worldwide. Solidar has over 50 member organizations in 29 countries, and the foundation itself is working on citizenship education and lifelong learning, publishing this monitor that I'm going to talk to you about every year. I'm going to refer to the results of the 2020 edition and link it with the conversation of today. So first, just a few words about the monitor, just to contextualize it a bit. So what we do with it is we collect data on policy developments linked to citizenship education, and we understand what our members are doing on the ground about this. We raise awareness on the needs of citizenship education practitioners. We collate and disseminate best practices linked to the topic, and we use it as an evidence-based approach to inform our and our members' advocacy strategy, so that we can convince EU and national policymakers to act consistently with social investment in education. And the 3 chapters that we focused on this year were global citizenship education, digital citizenship, and community partnership for inclusive societies. And the way we've done so was through a survey that we implemented on our member organizations to check for policy developments in their countries, then semi-structured interviews with our members to discuss a bit more in depth the work that they do on the ground. We topped everything off afterwards with desk research from our side. And the 9 countries that we studied this year, up on the slide, there's Sweden, Poland, Croatia, Italy, Estonia, France, Serbia, North Macedonia, and Spain. And the topics were green and digital competencies. But beyond this, it was how multi-stakeholder partnerships were actually very beneficial to develop policies linked to these types of competencies. So when we refer to green competencies, we linked it with global citizenship education, which was political education on a global scale, to prepare learners to develop a sense of belonging to the global community, to take an active role in society so that they can contribute to a peaceful and a just world in which ecological resources are preserved. When it comes to digital citizenship and digital competencies, we refer back constantly to the European Digital Competence Framework for Citizens, the DigComp, because it has a comprehensive view of the hard and soft skills needed for the 21st century. Now, both green and digital competencies imply lifelong and holistic elements. It's about making sure that these competencies are constantly updated, attuned to societal developments, and developed in a way that responsibilize learners to take action in society, to be respectful and collaborative global citizens. So in this sense, we've noticed a bunch of gaps across Europe on these competencies, which could be alleviated by the involvement of a wider variety of actors. So I'll go first to the gaps and then to the work of our members to see how we can connect civic participation with different types of learning. So regarding green transition and green competences, global citizenship education appeared to be across the country separated from European citizenship education. It's focused on sustainable development if it's actually internalized by the national education systems, because mostly it was actually pushed onto the field of development cooperation. In formal education, the curricula on this topic was a bit outdated, while the teaching profession across Europe is experiencing shortages, poor remuneration, lack of training on developing transversal competences. So if we don't support these elements, it's very hard to build the green competences. When talking about digital competencies, there's wide inequality gaps in terms of access to broadband connection, access to digital resources, the fact that only 58% of the Europeans have basic digital skills, and all boil down now in the pandemic to a situation where many Europeans were not quite aware of how their data was being used by the tech giants that engaged just in a heightened state of surveillance capitalism, taking advantage of this lack of knowledge. And then in this context, then the research leads us towards multi-stakeholder collaboration as a way to combat this, because working in silos is not quite sustainable anymore. The challenges are global, they're cross-cutting, and they do require people to use skills that are actualized on a daily basis. So this applies to the VET sector as well, though the national policymakers seem to miss out a bit on this point. Just looking at the Osnabrück Declaration on VET and how it can help for the recovery, which was signed last year, the aspect of lifelong learning was present, but then the aspect of life-wide learning was missing. The fact that people's learning has to be practical in the sense that it's connected to their local community, that is, that draws from that, and it's linked to their immediate reality, ensuring that their learning process is not linked to a structured course necessarily, but to a blend of formal, informal, and non-formal way of learning is a bit missed out. Most of the skills presented in terms of the just transitions are focused on innovation and skills for the labor market. So it's a bit of a missed opportunity to engage civil society organizations that work on the ground with issues of civic participation and personal development that are crucial then for the just transition. Because the CSOs have the knowledge of what is happening in the community. They can reach out to disadvantaged groups. They can support disadvantaged group to pursue further education. They have the know-how of how to include global citizenship education in various learning processes. And I'll exemplify this with two case studies which link post-secondary education with work of CSOs and how other stakeholders can also contribute to this and build up projects that would boost the desire for civic participation across learners. So I start with a project coming from the University of Limerick in Ireland, which is a member of one of our members, which is the International Federation of Workers' Education Associations. And this university has developed a 2-year evening study diploma called CWEL, and the acronym is up on the screen. It refers to what the people in the Limerick community in Ireland wanted, what was essential to them. And the program is not divorced from the reality. It's actually built on reciprocal exchanges and mutually respectful collaboration across academics and the local community members. So the university is actually implementing the program in partnership with dozens and dozens of local actors, ranging from volunteering organizations, community centers, retirement centers, vocational education providers, and many others. The students would actually collaborate with these actors while also being prepared on how to run community consultations, so they can go inside the community, talk to people on the needs, challenges, and desires that they have, and develop then the academic project based on this. The academic project I talk about, it's the culmination of their study. It happens in the second year, and some projects that CWEL had in the past ranged from a community sustainable development garden to fitness classes for single mothers, to other actions done by and for people with disadvantaged socioeconomic backgrounds. So then beyond the learning aspect and beyond the direct benefit that they bring to the community, it was also about the fact that the students were becoming engaged in the community. They had ownership of the step forwards, and they were willing to further engage. So then the VET courses could also similarly be designed in a way that not only ensures workplace training, but also links the works that learners do with their local surroundings. It creates an understanding then and a commitment from the side of learners to develop the civic competencies if they're part of the society in this way. My second case study is coming from Spain, from our member, La Liga Española de la Educación, which collaborates with the University of Valladolid in co-designing the curriculum for the education of future teachers. So the course that they designed is called Classrooms with a Taste of Earth, and it provides teachers and educators with methodologies on how to include education for sustainable development in their classroom, connecting the learners with their surrounding environment. It's a 75-hour theoretical and practical training process, and it basically includes a garden as a pedagogical resource for the teachers to use then in primary education once they start professing. So La Liga developed its expertise in global citizenship education from multiple angles, including education for sustainable development. So then it has this competence to actually participate into shaping the curriculum in this way. And in a similar fashion then for the VET sector, it's not necessarily only businesses and employers that should join, but also the fact that CSOs should be part of the development of the curriculum. It's because the end goal for any type of education is to ensure also the personal development of the learner and to prepare them to be active members in society. It's insufficient to only do a theoretical course, or it's insufficient only to have skills for the labor market. It's about opening the curriculum in such a way that seemingly you can have very smoothly integrated ways to promote citizenship education and civic engagement. And these local partnerships engage and keep learners engaged in their community. They would develop transversal skills that raise awareness on how important it is to understand one's role in society and join it in this way. And through only such collaborations, learners can be inside of a continuous learning process that is not limited to a structured educational course. It's and even beyond this, it's also about the fact that these different stakeholders can exchange to better troubleshoot what are the challenges in each community, what is the most sensitive way to approach them. And based on these examples and our research, we came up with recommendations, which are mostly actually focused on the public authorities and the civil society sector. So rather less for the VET sector and how we arrange it, but still, to draw conclusions from this, it's clear that partnerships across ministries and across stakeholders in the design and implementation of education policy are needed. The VET organizations have to also be part of this, have to join all the other formal, informal, and non-formal education providers in this collaboration. And you can see a bunch of other recommendations in our European overview and national case studies, which I'm going to share in the chat once I finish my presentation, so that you get a better grasp of this. But the general idea is that the public authorities need to support these collaborations and need to provide the basis to be able to boost these competences further. It's also because the case study that I presented, both organizations, the university and La Liga, are very, very closely engaged also with the public authorities. And therefore, they're recognized as and legitimized as partners in this process. And we need multiple organizations to be legitimized in this way, to join together and empower each other in this way. So there's a bunch of other examples that we have in our monitor. And again, I'm going to share this in the chat and you can have a look through it because we have even more direct examples of working with public authorities. But yeah, the idea is that you can have a read through it, and then later on, whether in the Q&A or later, we can get in touch and see how we can collaborate better. So yeah, thanks again for having me here.
Okay, thank you, Andre, for sharing these interesting case studies. And it's clear that like the gap we have from civic competencies development in education, and how these multi-stakeholder partnerships can help to cover this gap. Okay, thank you very much. So now we give the floor to Simon Johnson to learn more about the regional experience from Northland. Simon, if you're there, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I will try to share my screen first, just a moment. Do you see the screen? Good.
Yes, we can.
Good. First of all, my name is Simon Johnson. I'm the acting mayor of Northland County Council, also the chair of the subcommittee of education in AR. First of all, I want to thank AR for the opportunity to setting this agenda on the debate on social inclusion in a wide perspective. So I will give some remarks on how our policy making process involves. And second of all, I will give a couple of examples on how Northland deals with these challenges. First, the policy-making process. After the regional election in 2019, the political parties in Northland agreed upon a policy document, which is a guideline for the country administration to follow up on. To make this short, the political strategies are all based on the Universal Declaration on Human Rights and without any distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or either opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. The importance in this is work possibility for all, access to flexible education for all, youth as well as adult, native Norwegian, indigenous people, and immigrants. Health issues and above all mental health issues is essential, both in schools, workplaces, and in civil life, such as adopted Vision Zero for suicide and strategies for suicide prevention. The possibility to participate in sports, voluntary work, and access to other leisure time activities is also important for all. The County Council specifically asks for results in all mentioned topics, and we focus on the constant drives for skills, know-how, best practice, the development of methods. All this we can achieve by participating at seminars like this and by sharing and learning from each other. The second, I will introduce you to some examples of how we operate from political goals to strategy making process to best practice. The first of all, we believe to be able to guide our students in upper secondary education, we believe in systematically build student support. The student and the apprenticeship service is available at all upper secondary schools in Nordland. The County Council in Nordland has decided that all upper secondary schools in Nordland should have a comprehensive student and apprenticeship service that has almost equal offer regardless of geography and school size. In addition to statutory tasks, all schools must offer a service with a task and responsibilities that have been politically decided in Nordland. By pupils and apprentice service, we mean service that are not directly related to ordinary teaching or training, but service that are to complement these to ensure the pupils and the apprentices get the greatest possible benefits from teaching and training. Our vision is that the student and the apprenticeships service in Nordland should contribute to everyone who begins an upper secondary education in Nordland, completing. Objectively, this means that all students and apprentices and trainees must experience a good and inclusive learning environment that promotes health and well-being and learning. Our target group is that the service will help make the school day the best possible for the students. They will create life skills and joy in addition, and the target group is young people who have youth rights but who are not in ordinary upper secondary education. These can be young people who have not applied for upper secondary education, who drop out during the school year, dropped out of the learning and the apprenticeship, or for various reasons have lost the right to upper secondary education. Apprentices will still have the right to upper secondary education and can contact the student and apprentice service if they need help, or guidance, or social, pedagogical, and vocational and educational issues, as well if they need assistance from the health service. The county municipality is responsible for both pupils and apprentice candidates, also trainee candidates, until they have completed and passed the training with a diploma, certificate, or competence or apprenticeship tests. The goal is for everyone who starts in upper secondary education to complete the education. Furthermore, we believe in a predictable yet flexible vocational education. In February 2019, the Nordland County Municipality decided as the country's first county municipality to introduce an apprenticeship guarantee for students in upper secondary education. Apprenticeship guarantee means that students with youth rights who have completed and passed upper secondary education are guaranteed an apprenticeship in an apprenticeship company. We support the cooperation between schools and business in our county through entrepreneurship in training. As well do we acknowledge social entrepreneurship in terms of both vocational training and drop job spots for adults who due to mental illness, disability, drug abuse, or other reasons are in between. One of the example of a company that works with just this to include adults to take work is Frem Bodø in Nordland. They run a workplace that facilitates that all people can work regardless of their challenges. They focus on providing opportunities and that the people should experience mastery. Here they receive work-oriented rehabilitation, work training, and work inclusion, training and facilitation. Every child is enlightened to express their views and to be heard. This is the principle stated in the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. Norway has ratified this agreement. In Norway Education Law Act of 17 July 1998, the pupils and the apprentices should learn to think critically and act ethically and with environmental awareness. They should have joint responsibility and the right to participate. The right to participate will be reflected in the classroom as well as the students' right to participate in the school student union, and both local and national level. This being an important task can improve young people's understanding of democracy and participation for all. The Norwegian Nation Council adopted in 2017 a new law concerning school environment and bullying. The principle is zero tolerance approach bullying. Pupils have the right to feel safe and content at the school. We have introduced an ombudsman in Nordland to prevent bullying, to work with non-bullying acceptance both in kindergartens, school, working life, and in leisure arenas. Good and real participation may require some extra work, but it can also have great added value. Participation means that you have the opportunity to say your opinion about something and the opinion is listened to. So why do we participate? There are many good reasons why we decision makers should practice participation. First, in many cases, it's required by law. This applies among other things. Example in Norway, planning and building matters, which are regulated by the Planning and Building Act in Norwegian law. Cases dealt with children and young people who are regulated by the Convention on the Right of the Child. Municipality and county municipality cases that deals with young people, the elderly, or people with disability, which are regulated by the Local Government Act and regulation for the participation councils. In addition to the fact that participation in many cases is regulated by the law, there are several good reasons why participation is wise. Those affected are here. Citizen trust in elected representative is increasing. Good participation can stimulate active citizens who get involved. Decision becomes better. Participation can provide a deeper understanding of the problem and make decision makers better able to make informed choices. The elected representative will be better able to be good representatives of the citizens, and it also may be easier to implement adopted measures. Participation can be good learning for both politicians and the citizen. So how do we get involvement? In order to participate in this process to be good, there are some factors that should be in place. You should have received training before and during a practice participation process. It should be clarified in advance what input is to be given and why input is given and how the input is followed up afterwards. You have the opportunity to promote your own cases and decide for yourself which cases you want to participate in. And the way you participate is adapted to those who are to participate, so they find it interesting and understanding what's happening. It should be easy with language that is simple and understandable, and you receive the information you need in your case. You can decide which part of case you want to say something about without having to say anything about the whole case. This is important measures to have good public participation and to have the rights for making a better participation for everyone. So this is some of the experience from Nordland, and I look forward to the rest of the debate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Simon, for sharing your experience, for this support to all and equal offer to all secondary, upper secondary students in order to participate in these opportunities, no, active participation and civic participation opportunities. So finally, it's time to hear Maria Elena Romanini, who's going to tell us more about the peer learning clubs that have been developed in the Skillman Network project as an instrument to build the Tibet voice. So Elena, please.
Thank you, Aurora. Good morning to everybody. Thank you for your participation in our webinar today, and thank you to the organizers for giving me the opportunity to present our joint initiatives, the so-called peer learning clubs. Just a moment, I'm going to share my screen with you, hoping that everything is working correctly. So peer learning clubs, what they are and what they work. First of all, the PLCs are 4 permanent focus groups, multi-stakeholder focus groups, aiming at identifying through a participative approach main and prior challenges and also problems concerning the innovation processes of the TVET system at global level. These 4 permanent focus groups are sort of agoras to discuss, to debate on these co-identified priorities, and they are thematic, stable of discussion focused on these 4 main topics. The first one is focused on innovation in advanced manufacturing according to a so-called sectoral dimension. The PLC2 focused on advocacy and policy influencing in order to engage stakeholders and influencing altogether policies for supporting the innovation processes of the TVET systems. The PLC3 focused on innovation and transformation of VBL, work-based learning, in all its forms, considering also the strong impact of pervasive digitalization processes, and last but not least, the impact of COVID pandemic, of course. And the PLC4 is dedicated to in the trainers. So we are exploring the crucial topic, the crucial issues of upskilling of trainers, teachers, and educators for innovative curricula and responsive TVET systems. So this is our approach. As also my colleague Valentina said at the very beginning of the webinar, we are following a participatory approach to this co-creation approach, focusing the main problems concerning the 4 themes I showed you before. The first step has focused on identifying and prioritizing problems and challenges concerning innovation of the TVET system at global level. Through this phase, we brainstorm and we try to identify these main priorities that could be areas of intervention in order to contribute to these innovation processes themselves. The second step is focused on plan joint strategies. After identification of prior problems and challenges, then we have to decide together, discussing and sharing knowledge, experiences, and expertise, case studies. We have to design some possible steps, some joint initiatives. That means, for example, awareness campaigns or joint initiatives at local level, or stakeholders engagements initiatives, and last but not least, collaborative projects initiatives to foster innovation at TVET system. After the definition of these possible joint strategies, we take action together. So every member, consider that at the moment we launched this PLC's initiative last May 2020, and up to now we have involved over than 200 experts, stakeholders, private and public, TVET professionals, VBL professionals, so also companies, local policy makers, and experts in the different fields of the TVET universe, we can say. So the first step is to take action, concrete steps at local, regional, national, even a European level, in order to influence those policies, as I said before. Of course, after these 3 steps, we have the last one dedicated, according to this co-creation approach, to evaluate together what kind of results and feedback we have obtained through these joint actions implemented. How we work? We have shared a workspace, a digital workspace, very easy, very user-friendly. You can access this workspace in any moment after a simple registration, and this managing tool has Basecamp. So through Basecamp we can access to the different PLCs, and this is how the working space looks like. We have different rooms for sharing, scheduling of initiatives, for assignment of tasks to the different members, for chatting, of course, about different topics that can be useful for brainstorming and further sharing of knowledge and opportunities. We have a repository room to upload any relevant source we would like to share to support our scientific discussion, let's say. And last but not least, a room dedicated to the production of documents, policy papers, or joint projects, as I said, according to the different main challenges identified in the first step of the participatory approach of the PLCs themselves. This is very easy. It's very easy to access the peer learning clubs. There are open groups of discussions, so you are very more than welcome if you want to join us. These are the addresses to we can share to assess and for subscription. So what we have realized up to now, of course, discussion, brainstorming, as I said, through Basecamp, periodical meeting, digital meeting for the moment, considering the restrictions at international level in mobility and in realizing on-site events. We have also realized the number 4 position papers, one for each PLC. So after discussion, after this participatory approach, we have produced these papers. You can find them on the main Skillman website. There is a sort of online consultation, always open, so you can concretely contribute to the finalization of this policy paper that summarize what we think as a multi-stakeholder platform are the main challenges we have to face together to contribute to have more responsive TVET systems at local, regional, and up to international level. So regarding the main focus of the PLC1, advanced manufacturing, innovation in advanced manufacturing sector, the main focus of our discussion are related to co-designing of training opportunities, valorizing a business education partnership, and the so-called triangle of knowledge that is very, very crucial in these days, also after the publication of the new Erasmus Plus program. Dedicated focus is related to innovating learning approaches, because as you know, through advanced manufacturing sector, we have to support the so-called twins transformation, green and digital. So we have to innovate pedagogical approaches, we have to innovate teaching and learning tools, etc. Regarding PLC2, the focus of this position paper is to realize the joint initiatives for having a more effective than efficient TVET system. So we have to adapt also a systematic approach to skills for sites for innovate curricula through a multi-stakeholder cooperation, so-called considering the wide concept of the skills ecosystem. We have also to think about innovation of curricula, balancing work skills and life skills in order to increase the resilience and adaptability of any person, not only thinking about each individual as worker, but before as person. We have to foster inclusion as crucial cross-cutting dimension for a TVET system of the future. Regarding PLC 3, we are discussing about how digitalization, also after COVID emergency, is radically changing the work-based learning in all its forms, and how many interesting and challenging opportunities we have thanks to embedding digitalization in the different learning environments. So we are discussing on innovation potential of immersive training and learning methodologies and upskilling teachers and trainers for specifically VBL professionals for boosting this digital transformation of learning. We have also to discuss together continuously on how to reinforce the key concept of the business education partnership as cross-cutting one to these innovation processes themselves. Finally, PLC 4 is focused on the crucial item of upskilling and empowerment of teachers, trainers, and educators, because of course they are very crucial profiles in these innovation processes at any level. So we cannot innovate and expect an effective learning environment without having empowered, motivated, and upskilled professionals. As I said, we have published this drafted disposition paper on the Skillman main website. There is an online consultation, and if you want to contribute to this process of finalization, you are more than welcome. Thank you very much for your attention. Join the peer learning clubs. So we share also through the chat once again the address to join Basecamp, and thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Maria Elena. Indeed, these peer learning clubs are an example of this innovative approach to facilitate and promote that active participation and representation in the main EU level debates. Now it's time for a quick run of questions and answers before we have the final closure of the session. So I'll address a question to all speakers. Maybe we can start with that. Maybe Andre, you can be the first to answer, but you decide to take the floor. So based on your experience, what do you see as the main challenges and opportunities for the civic participation of people in Tibet, and more generally to make democratic participation more inclusive?
Yeah, I can go ahead first then. Well, specifically at the moment for the VET sector and for the CSOs, when working on civic participation, it's many times that we hear the same thing, that there's the impact of the pandemic has been felt, and especially on the VET sector and on how work-based learning was able to be done. So it's essential then, as we move forward from here, to ensure sufficient investment on these organizations from the VET side, but also from the CSO side, to have also the time to collaborate. Because if we talked so much about, and also Elena mentioned this idea of peer learning clubs, of working together, of developing the curriculum together. If these organizations are to work together, they have to have the resources, to have the time to dedicate in this way. Same for the teachers. If the teachers are supposed to work together in the co-creation of learning activities and to learning new pedagogies, they have to have the time allocated for their training. They have to have the funding allocated for their training to be able to facilitate this to go ahead. And when it comes to the second side of the question, how to make it a bit more inclusive, it also depends on which type of learners participate in which type of education. Because we get the feeling that when talking about the diversity of the student body, it's not necessarily that applicable. We see gender gaps in education. We see gaps based on the migrant background of learners, especially as some are skewed a bit more into the VET rather than higher education. Not saying one is better than another, but it's just the fact that guidance has to be provided in advance to see exactly where these learners would like to be. what would they like to do forward, because then they have ownership of the study. And then by ownership in that, they are also a bit more participative in it. So I think, yeah, this is where my first ideas were at. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Andre. I totally agree. Simon, Maria Elena, I don't know if you have further thoughts on these issues. I don't know if you're muted or trying to speak. Okay,
sorry, no. I have some problems with my microphone. Well, I agree with this position expressed by Andre. I think that regarding the PLCs, we are at the very beginning of our process of co-design and co-creation of initiatives, but it's, in a sense, a very effective way of cooperation. It's always important to think about available resources, also thinking about time, available time for professionals, always engaged in brainstorming and promoting joint initiatives. Regarding the train of and the upskilling processes of teachers and trainers, it's a very delicate point, because we have very different conditions and situations, thinking about the different member states. In my opinion, I'm thinking at the moment my country, Italy, we have a very jeopardized situation. But of course, what we discussed during the PLCs is the necessity to recognize the time and resources and updating training opportunities for these professionals in order to boost also empowerment, motivation, and a sort of community approach to the upskilling processes themselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Maria Elena. Yeah, totally, we agree. No, time and teacher training, and also time, like motivation is not the only thing. No, you have to have time to develop those projects, to be trained, and then have that time to develop the projects. And also concerning inclusion, the point you just mentioned, Andre, just to point out, concerning some of these points will be addressed in upcoming webinars we will have in gender inclusion in Tibet, leaving no one behind in education. So that is something we will develop further in the future, okay, for attendants to be aware of. Okay, so Simon, maybe I can address a question for you regarding the support to students. If do you potentially have feedback on the past year, and how this support has also had to adapt due to the circumstances related to the COVID-19 pandemic? Maybe you can give us.
Yeah, the students' feedback from Norway and Norland is that it's difficult to meet the student service support because of they have other jobs, because they are health. Most of the people that do support, they work as nurses. So if we have a pandemic and a situation in one town or school, the nurses will be taken out from the schoolwork to do testing or vaccination. So that's a problem. But at the same time, the youngsters is very good at learning to use a new technology and are very good to take to use the forum they have to get in touch. So it's difficult for all the people in Norland, and especially the young, because they cannot meet at the same level as they has done before. But we have at every school, we have a young or a school council, and they have the same. The school has been open in Norway since March last year. So they still have the opportunity to meet and to take up the things that they maybe things are difficult, or the political stance. But but of course, it's difficult to have the same opportunity to meet the politicians and to participate as they could do the last year. So, but I think it's in some way we adapt us to the situation in Norway very fast. So it's almost you are too usual to have. It's usual to meet at the Zoom or Teams arenas, and in Nordland County we have weekly meetings with the youth council and the council for the elderly and the council for disabilities. So we meet them weekly and discuss topics that involve policy making. So yeah.
Okay, it's indeed a challenge to keep up with this situation, and we've had to enhance like not only digitalization but creativity, no, to be able to keep up with the needs and the services we offer. Okay, so thank you, Simon. And maybe we can have time for a really quick last question, Maria Elena. In case I would like to find partners for the development of a project, okay, can I use these peer learning clubs to find them and to look for this collaboration? And if yes is the answer, how should I do it?
Yes, well, as I said, PLCs are open table of discussions for the identification and for the joint development of initiatives of at any level of any kind to foster innovation at the TVET system level. So if you have any good idea or you want to contribute to our discussion or you want to co-organize an event, digital or on-site when possible at any level, we can share some ideas, some proposals through these shared workspace in Basecamp. We can also organize a periodical meeting. So yes, absolutely, I agree with you. PLCs can be a good platform to share innovative ideas and find the concrete ways to put these ideas into action. To become a member is very easy. We have some members connected today with us during this webinar. So just necessary to assess the addresses we shared in the slide before, and also my colleague Julia shared in the chat. And then you will receive credentials to be able to enter in the Basecamp space. Of course, being that our collaborative working area, in any moment you will be updated by mailing or communication regarding webinars, regarding initiatives or periodical meetings. So this is very, very easy to assess.
Okay, so thank you, Maria Elena. I think all the links are in the chat, so it's everything clear for the participants. So thank you all. I think we had a really complete and inspiring discussion today, and on how to enhance this active citizenship and participation of Tibet stakeholders, no, and how to build these multi-stakeholders partnerships in order to do that. I will now want to leave the floor. I hope it's possible to Alessandra Seda for some closing remarks of the session. I don't know if Alessandra, you're finally here with us, able to join.
Hello, hi. Unfortunately, Ms. Seda is unable to participate because she's also Vice President of the Autonomous Region of Sardinia, and a sudden commitment came up, so she had to leave, and she's so sorry that she could not open the webinar. However, there would be, I hope, more occasions for her to give her contribution, and I will certainly share with her all the useful and valuable information that we got from this webinar. She just wanted to leave the message that IR is committed to boost employment skills and civic participation and throughout Europe. And more now more than ever, it's important because of this pandemic to close cooperate with all the EU institutions so that new skills, employment cohesion and inclusion are reinforced. So she sends her regards and she hopes to be able to give her contribution on these issues in a future occasion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We totally understand the Alessandra's agenda. So thank you in any case for joining and for trying to give us this room. As mentioned, thank you all. I think we're just in time, so I'm leaving the word for Valentina to wrap up the session. And thanks again for joining and for all your relevant contributions today.
Thank you, Aurora. Thank you for your great facilitation. Thanks to all our panelists who joined us today, even the Autonomous Region of Sardinia, who took the time between different challenges and overlapping arrangements to be with us. I know that Julian has shared in the chat the feedback form again for you to evaluate today's webinar. We would like to know what you think about it and if you enjoyed it and if you have any room for improvement. From my side, I would just say that it was a very interesting topic to talk about because it's very actual, it's very relevant for what we're doing now. I also coordinate the peer learning clubs with Maria Elena, so I know that those groups are a very useful tool and a very useful, let's say, platform to network and to establish partnerships and to go further in the discussion and in the solution of certain challenges that we find nowadays. Just to conclude the session, thank you. I would like to thank the Assembly of European Regions for organizing the webinar, and I would like to remind to all of you that we never sleep and rest, so we are already working on the next webinar for you to enjoy. The next one is going to be on the 6th of May at 2:30 p.m. this time, so a different time range for the next one. It's going to be on opportunities and threats of DTL for work-based learning, which is another topic that is very actual and very interesting and hopefully useful for all of you. That one is going to be organized in cooperation with the European Training Foundation. So Julia is sharing with you the link in case you want to join and we want to join the discussion. So again, thank you all for being here today. Very much appreciated. Panelists, facilitator, and the audience as well. Have a great day, evening or night, whatever you are, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.